McDurkins! My office, now!
What's the matter, Chief? Miss your transcendental meditation class?
That's enough out of you! You know, you really yank my nuts, McDurkins!
About time somebody did.
First you crash an ice cream van into the mayor's dog, then you blow up the Latvian embassy, then you stage an armed hijacking of the hot dog cart at the county fair!
I can explain. I was hungry.
And if all that weren't enough, you talk in such a cool, gravelly voice that half the time I don't have a goddamn idea what you're saying.
Sounds like you need that Lake Michigan.
I've had enough, McDurkins. You're off the case. What do you have to say to that?
Well, it's Crowley time.
What?
I said it's Crowley time.
Oh.
Hello, and welcome to Crowley Time with me, Tom Crowley. With me, Tom Crowley. It's the show where we take two rival teams of antique restorers and challenge them both to bring a Louis XVI chair up to auction standard to see whose spit and polish job brings in the most in open bidding. No, wait, that's something else. No, this is Crowley Time, the show where you listen to short comic scenes performed by me and sometimes, like this time, a very special guest. Yes, that's it. In this episode, you'll visit ancient Greece, meet some intriguing new characters, and stop in for a visit to Dave's workshop to see how you can use ordinary household vinegar to get persistent tarnish off... No, wait, that's the other thing. That does sound good, though. No, let's stick with the usual thing. Off we go. Aesop, stay a moment. I need help.
Demetrios, my friend. Do not fret so.
Aesop, you are the wisest man I know. I must have your counsel.
Whatever your problem, Demetrios, I will offer whatever assistance I can.
Thank you. You know Alkaios, the moneylender?
Yes, I know him. A most feared individual.
Well, last month I was desperate for money, and I borrowed 20 drachmas from him, thinking that I would be able to make it back by selling that plot of land.
A dangerous gambit.
Indeed so. For when the buyer saw the land, he said it was too dry and cracked for farming, and he pulled out of the sale.
Tricky.
Oh, what can I do, Aesop? Alkaios says he will come to collect today.
You know, there was once a little river rat.
Yes?
And he worked hard, collecting morsels of grain, storing them up to eat in the harsh winter which was to come.
Oh.
But one day, the river overflowed and washed away the river rat's store of grain, leaving the rat with nothing.
Oh, no.
Yes, and with winter soon to come, the rat would surely starve. But there was a hawk that lived nearby who saw the rat's struggle and flew down. He said, "Little rat, with my powerful wings and my large talons, I have gathered much more grain than you, much more quickly than you are able. I will share some of my store of grain for the winter with you.
Oh, good.
But here are my terms. On the very first day of springtime, you must return to me an equal measure of grain to that which I give you. Not one morsel fewer, or else I will eat you."
Oh.
Well, the rat knew he would never be able to pay back the hawk, because the harvesting time was over, and there would be no fresh grain to gather before spring. But the rat had only two choices: to agree to the terms, or to starve to death.
Yes.
So, the rat accepted the grain from the hawk, and, thanks to the loan, he survived through the winter time. But, as sure as day follows night, the first day of spring loomed closer and closer, and the rat knew that the hawk was bound to return soon for his grain.
What did he do?
The rat needed help, so he went to see his friend Aesop. Aesop was a wise and kind man who was always good for a tidbit of good advice. But the rat had forgotten one thing.
What was that?
That he had also been going on about his bloody problems to Aesop all through the winter time at the taverna, and making Aesop get in all the rounds all the blinking time with his bollock sob-stories about his bloody grain, and making him buy all the crisps and nuts as well, and promising the whole time that just as soon as he got hold of some grain, he would get him back all the drinks he owed him. So Aesop didn't lift a finger to help the rat, and then later the hawk ate him.
I see.
So the moral of the story is, don't bullshit Aesop and make him buy you all the drinks all the time when you know you haven't got a pot to piss in and you'll never be able to pay him back, or a hawk will eat you.
Right.
P.S. Moral number 2, the hawk is over there.
What? Oh, shit!
Demetrius, where are you?
He's over here, Alkaios.
Demetrius!
You're a real bastard, Aesop. You know that?
Get back here!
What? It's just a story.
It's incredible what we can still learn from the wisdom of the ancients, isn't it? For example, I've heard that Mel Brooks keeps all of his charging cables in a pencil case. Pretty clever.
2 fat ladies, 88. 2 little ducks, 22. 2 little mutant ducks, 33. 53, and then one more, it's 54. Must be Wednesday, it's 69. Snake's alive, it's 55. Snake's dead, 11. Lemonade with ice, everything's nice, it's 20 twice, it's 40. I'm feeling sick, I'm feeling nauseous, the number 28, of course, is.
Bingo!
Alice? What was that all about? Why were the police here?
It's nothing, darling. Apparently a young man's gone missing a few streets over and they just wanted to ask me a few questions.
What? Why you?
It's really nothing, Martin. I was in the pub an hour or two before this man was last seen, and they thought I might have seen something, but I wasn't even anywhere near.
Well, all right. As long as you're okay, that's quite
Oh, God, Martin, I admitted it was me!
What?
I came out of the pub, and he was there, and he bumped into me, and he said sorry, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was so frightened, and I just grabbed his neck and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed until he stopped moving.
Jesus Christ!
And I had to do something about the body, so I cut it into 16 pieces and put each bit in a bin bag and hid the pieces at a variety of unpredictable locations around the city.
16?
But I'm so sorry, Martin, and I never thought I could do anything like that in my whole life. I was just so frightened that I didn't know what I was doing.
All right, darling. Look, it's going to be okay. We'll just call the police and we'll tell them everything, and then we can...
But that's not all of it, Martin.
What?
There was a coachload of rugby players coming back from a match, and they saw me hiding the 16th bag behind a billboard in Walthamstow, and they sped off, and I knew they were going to tell someone.
Oh, God.
So I got in my car, and I rammed their coach off the road at the High Maynard Reservoir, and they all drowned.
Alice, my God.
But I didn't know what I was doing, Martin. I was so frightened. I didn't even recognize myself.
It's all right. It's okay, darling. We'll just have to go and speak to the police. Now, is there anything else you need to tell me?
No, that's all, I swear.
All right. Put on your coat and we'll go.
Oh, God, Martin, there's something else.
What?
I killed the last African black rhino.
You... what? When?
It was last year. You remember I said I had to go to that sales conference in Doncaster?
Yes.
Well, there was no sales conference. I went to Africa to broker a deal for the purchase of a suitcase full of blood diamonds for a Panamanian dealer.
What?
And the seller suggested we go on safari, and we'd only been out there for an hour or two when this huge thing came charging at me, and I was so frightened.
Right.
And I just took the gun out of the ranger's hands and shot it right between the eyes, and it went straight down like a huge sack of turds.
Oh, God, Alice.
But it wasn't me doing it, Martin. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right. Okay. Well, this sounds like more of a question for some sort of international court, so...
But that isn't all, Martin.
Isn't it?
No. Remember when I said my aunt was ill and I had to go and take care of her in Inverness for a few days?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't in Inverness.
No.
No. I was travelling around the Far East and I ended up in Wuhan in central China.
Oh, my God.
I'd been on the road for days at that point. No money, no friends. I was starving. And I ended up wandering into a wet market.
No, Alice, no.
And I saw this dead bat lying on a stall and it just looked so delicious.
Did it? Did it really?
But you have to understand, Martin. I wasn't myself. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just so frightened.
Right. Look, let's just call the police and explain.
There's more!
Right.
The year was 1963. There I was in a book depository in Dallas.
Oh, God!
The distant sound of cheering on the warm breeze drew my attention to the window, and there, propped against the wall, a high-powered rifle. Who had put it there, I didn't know. I only knew one thing, that I had a job to do.
You think you know someone, don't you? But can you ever truly know someone? I mean, I think I know my friends, but now that I think about it, I've never seen an X-ray of any one of them. Not ever. They could have anything going on in there. Oh, doesn't bear thinking about. Let's see if anyone's called. Hello, this is Crowley Time with me, Tom Crowley with me, Tom Crowley. We can't take your call at the moment. Please leave your message after the tone. Tom, it's your bank manager here. I don't care what your gut is telling you. I'm not prepared to give you a loan of $500,000 to start an erotic cereal shapes company. That's not the news I was hoping for. It's hard to take when people let you down, isn't it? I've had a frightful time for it, actually. My fridge packed in recently, and I thought, well, I pay my taxes. Who else am I supposed to turn to in times of need other than our elected government? So I rang up the Conservative Party, and they came round to have a look.
Oh,
Thanks for coming.
yeah, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What is it?
It's the fridge. It's not working. It doesn't keep things cold.
Right. Yeah, and you wanted to keep things cold. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously. Right. So I think the first thing we're going to have to do here is to set up a special task force, get some inquiries out there, bang out a few queries, do a bit of polling, work out what the public mood is vis-a-vis de rigueur in regards to you getting your fridge fixed.
Right.
So that's just going to need a couple of mil.
£1 million?
Yeah, mate, absolutely. But it's going to be super simple because all you've got to do is Venmo me. Just Venmo me, Venmo
Right,
that there,
well,
Venmo me, Venmo me, sweet. Okay, so I think I know just the guys to get onto this. I've got a couple of old friends from back when I was working in the city. I'm pretty sure one of them had a fridge once.
Right, are they on the...
Yeah, we've already got a WhatsApp group going. It's called Banterbury Cathedral. It's fucking disgusting, honestly.
Okay, but what did you need the $2 million for?
Oh, mate, you don't even want to know, really. I mean, there's like admin fees, database engineering, Charlie, buildings insurance.
Right. Wait.
So it's really excellent news. The task force has returned their findings to me, and there is supposed to be a pocket of funding available for fridges, dishwashers, white goods, etc.
Great.
And that pocket was recently streamlined into funding a really brave increase in the ambition of hedge funds.
What?
And in the current climate, absolutely nobody's going to be prepared to put their heads any further above the parapet to propose funding for any sort of fridge fix or anything like that.
But I gave you £2 million.
Yeah, and because of that, I think we're all going to be able to chalk this up as a win, quite frankly.
But my fridge still doesn't work. Hang on.
All due respect, mate, I think the British public's quite tired of hearing about this fridge at this point.
Did you unplug it?
Cheers, bruv. If you're not completely satisfied, it's illegal for you to protest, okay?
But
And you can see the video footage of that particular encounter on my various social media platforms, @ATomCrowley. Suffice to say, I never did get my money back. They did offer me a medical supplies contract, though, so that's something. Anyway, let's get on with it.
The cabbie suddenly cooled off and went all quiet, so by the time we got to his front door, it was all off. He just gave me a tenner and told the cabbie to take me the rest of the way home.
Okawee!
Yeah, he'd been so flirty and laughing a lot and giving my arm a little touch all evening, then he suddenly just clammed up.
Do you think he's self-conscious about the bedroom, maybe?
Maybe, but it was like a light switch going off. It was so odd.
He might still not be over someone else. He didn't want to take things too far in case you couldn't see it going anywhere.
He did mention getting out of another relationship over dinner, but that was a year ago.
You never know, these things can cast a long shadow.
What do you think, Aesop?
There was once a little bluebird who went out looking for love.
Yeah?
It was the beginning of spring, and like all little bluebirds, her heart yearned for a special someone with whom she could sing and dance and cartwheel around the treetops.
Yeah?
But sadly, the one thing that the little bluebird had forgotten
What?
What was it?
was that she and her friend Aesop had got Bruno Mars tickets, which he had to book months in advance. And then on the day she told him she was ill, but then a few days later he finds out she had just double booked him with a date with some guy.
Oh, God.
And obviously Aesop couldn't shift the extra ticket on the day of the gig, so he was out £100.
Ah, come on, Aesop. I told you I'd pay you back if you couldn't find anyone.
The Bluebird said that, but she also said that she'd pay him back for the ABBA voyage tickets.
I had to pay for a plane ticket to Spain because my dad was ill, I told you.
The Bluebird always had some very good story, but at the end of the day, the moral is that Aesop ends up out of pocket and sitting by himself at the gig all the time like Stinky Henderson, while the Bluebird flies around shitting on people where she may, same as usual.
All right, that's it.
And maybe the man backed out of the date with the Bluebird because the Bluebird's getting past her prime a bit and she's still dressing like she's 25, and frankly, it's getting a bit embarrassing.
Come on, Sheena, we're going. You're a bastard, Aesop, you know that?
What? It's just a story. Just a story about a Bluebird. To be honest, I've really lost my zest for this job. It once seemed like such a thrill to be up here, calling the tune, keeping everyone's spirits up, and making a few lucky people's nights. But now being elevated up on this stage just makes me feel lonelier, and the distance between the man I am up here and the man I am out there just feels vast. Sometimes I wonder if it's really myself I hate. It's 28!
Bingo.
Tom, it's your broker. I don't care what you've heard on Reddit. I'm not investing 100 grand in erotic building site hoardings. I'm sorry. I won't do it.
What am I paying a blooming broker for then anyway? Right, anyway, listeners, next it's time to go to the sorting room to read all the lovely letters you've been sending in. Oh, hang on. What's this? Savaloy? Savaloy?
Just over here at the customer fulfillment bar, Mr. Crowley. Cappuccino.
Savaloy, what's all this? Touch-operated automatic door? Plush sofas in the waiting room? A waiting room? What happened to the cursed forbidden dungeon atmos?
Well, I ain't just been sitting on my thumbs these last few months, Mr. Crowley. I thought it was about time we spruced the place up a bit, so I got some lads in. Mind the koi pond?
Whoa, oh, thanks, Savaloy. My goodness, it's a whole new postal experience.
That's right, sir. If you want to check the messages from the listeners, you just select them from the touchscreen wall here.
Cool. Flash.
And if you're tired from reading all these letters out loud, you can take a seat in one of our posthumatic reading chairs.
Oh, my spine feels so straight.
And help yourself to a coffee from the bar or a glass of chilled water from the tap here.
So cool my teeth hurt.
And if the content of the messages proves stressful or challenging in any way, you can relax with an hour or two in this sensory deprivation chamber I had them bung in.
My goodness, posh or what? I thought you didn't hold with all this newfangled technology, Savaloy.
Well, you've got to learn to move with the times, ain't you, sir? I'm not having no artificial intelligence nicking my job, no, sir.
Quite right. Well, Savaloy, knock me up a vanilla latte and I'll try and figure out this touchscreen wall.
Coming right up, Mr. Crump. Whoa! Oh, I've fallen into the sensory deprivation chamber. Well, good thing I didn't bring the lid down with... Oh...
Yeah, okay, here we are. Now, you listeners may remember that in the last episode we asked the people write in with a bit of information on how they like to listen to this show, and a few people obliged. Thanks to everyone who wrote in. Here are just a couple. First, it's another letter from Colin Arnott. Colin Arnott of Colin Arnott's Letter. Glad to say it's not quite as encyclopedic as the last one, though the effort is much appreciated, Colin, as is your continued support of the show. Colin writes, Dear you, Tom Crowley, I have been peacocking around with my luxury Crowley Time t-shirt on. It really is, by the way, very soft and comfortable. Marvellous, Colin. Thank you for purchasing one. I have made a point of ostentatiously walking towards anyone who looks in the slightest bit curious, but to no avail. To date, no one has asked me what it's all about. Trust me, I'm ready with the totally off-the-cuff response. It's the world's best sketch comedy podcast and I'm proud to be wearing it on my body. It may be that some people are put off by a chubby, beardy old man walking towards them, thrusting his stomach inappropriately in their face. You might want to rethink your post-sales advertising policy. No, Colin, I won't, because what you describe is exactly the sort of scenario I'm hoping to encourage more of with the Crowley Time garment line. Confused people having stomachs thrust into their faces is the bedrock of our marketing campaign. Incidentally, listeners, if you would like to purchase a Crowley Time Luxury Elites t-shirt or Sumptuoso sweatshirt, you can do so via the button on the show's website, crowleytime.com. Anyway, Colin continues. You wanted to find out how your listeners consume Crowley Time, and with abject apologies to Elizabeth Barrett Browning, I thought I would let you know in a poorly crafted sonnet. Don't pay too much attention to the syllable count. All right, here we go. Crowley Time, a sonnet. How do I listen? Let me count the ways. Me with trembling hands and heart aflutter, will Tom go highbrow or straight to the gutter? Download, buds in, oh maker of my days. It's nice to wake to Tom's most dulcet tones, to shake off sleep and brace yourself for work, or drive along, your face just one big smirk, and laugh along at the man with funny bones. I often listen whilst walking the dog, taking out the bins, hoovering the stairs, cooking, washing up or polishing chairs. Whenever suits, just never on the bog. Poo germs really are a thing. Never heard this podcast? Then give it a punt. Just not near kids. He can throw in a cunt. Well, thank you, Colin. It's truly the most beautiful thing I've ever read. I would, however, like to point out that listening on the toilet is actually recommended, as having two headphones covering your ear canals actively prevents the ingress of poo-poo vapor and other unsavory toilet germs. Think about it. Next, it's Samariel K, who we've heard from before on Ask Wingnut. And they say, among a lot of very kind praise, which I'm not going to read out because everyone will think I'm a self-congratulating wankpot, I have a job that often only requires a basic amount of mental capacity. I work a lot and thus go through a lot of podcasts and audiobooks fairly quickly. But if I really like a show, I, as I say to my friends, eat them. I start at the beginning and just consume the entire backlog until I'm fully caught up. I've been known to consume entire shows in weekends. It's not a problem. I can stop any time I want. So that's at work in great volume. I think that's probably a very popular option, Samariel. Thanks for listening and for your kind words about the show. It really means a lot to know that all my demented gibbering offers people enjoyment or, at least, distraction. And to ensure that you are further distracted, I'm awarding you Letter of the Episode! As such, you will soon receive your Letter of the Episode! Prize, a digital download of Discount Bin, the first Crowley Time soundtrack album. I hope it gets your toes tapping, your workday passing, and your mental capacity brought down as close to zero as possible. And that's all the letters we've got time for. Thanks to everyone who's taken the time to email or tweet or comment. However you like to communicate, I love to hear it. Tweet me at @TomCrowley or email crowleytimepodcast@gmail.com, and you never know, you too could be declared Letter of the Episode! In particular, it would be nice to get some questions for Wingnut, our resident 5-year-old agony uncle. He hasn't had many questions sent in for a while, and he just loves to help people with their problems. So if you've got a situation you need a 5-year-old boy's help with, please do email crowleytimepodcast@gmail.com, and Wingnut will offer his own brand of wisdom on the subject in an episode very soon. These letters were great, though. In fact, Savaloy, I think it was you who wanted to know how the listeners listen to the show. What? Savaloy? Savaloy? Oh. Must have gone out to find a jacuzzi to have installed or something. Oh well, better get out of here and get back to the show, I suppose.
Mr. Crowley, was that you? Oh, it's awfully relaxing in here.
It's good to be in touch with the ones we love. You know, I was just thinking about that the other day. Apparently it's the 70th anniversary of James Bond first appearing on bookshelves, and that reminded me of just how long it's been since I last phoned my good friend Sir Roger Moore. He's passed away now, which makes it harder, of course, but you can usually get a pretty good line up to heaven if you call at off-peak hours and it's not too cloudy outside. Here's the last conversation we had, many years ago.
Hello, Tom.
Roger, wonderful to have you on the programme.
It's my pleasure, Tom.
We simply must begin with the question on everybody's lips. What's it like to be dead?
It's not like anything, really. It's a bit like asking, what's it like when an orange isn't there?
Interesting.
So, really, you're just sitting there one day eating a baguette and suddenly you're not there anymore.
Right, wow.
Yes, and then there's nothing for between 20 and 30 minutes, and then zip-zap, you're in heaven.
Gosh. You made it in then?
Yes, well, after The Spy Who Loved Me, how could they not?
Quite. Why the half-an-hour delay?
Well, there was a bit of a queue, lots of baby boomers shuffling off at the Mo.
Yes, of course. But how is it once you're in there? Bright white wings, colonnades, harps?
No, Tom, it's much less physically literal than that. Heaven isn't so much a place as a different way of experiencing existence. No up, no down. There's a perception of light and color, a sense of floating consciousness separated from physical body, but aside from that, it's quite literally indescribable.
Okay. Could you describe it?
No.
Right.
Anyway, I'd better ring off, Tom. I'm late for mini-golf.
Wait, there's a mini-golf course?
Oh, yes, Tom. I'm booked in for a game with the wonderful Sir Alec Guinness. But beyond that, it's quite literally indescribable.
Okay.
Roger, are you coming? The bar's open.
You know the magic words, Sir Alec. Right, toodle-bye, Tom.
Sir Roger. We do miss him. It'd be lovely to see him again. Perhaps it's not too much to hope that someday he'll attempt re-entry. It wouldn't be his first try for a second coming. I originally recorded that conversation for a pilot for a radio show called Tom Crowley's Movie Memories Mix, in which I played music from films and reminisced about my extensive screen acting career. It hasn't been picked up for national broadcast as yet, but if you'd like to hear the pilot in full, it's this episode's Patreon bonus. Sign up for just $2 or local equivalent per episode at patreon.com/CrowleyTime and you get Movie Memories Mix and every bit of bonus material I've ever released. That's patreon.com/CrowleyTime. Don't make me beg, 'cause I will beg. All right, let's move on. Unbelievable. They make it all totally implausible, like dragons and goblins and stuff I can get on board with, but if you get an arrow through your head, I'm sorry, you're dead. And no, it's really fallen off this series. Oh, bugger, not again. Is it jammed? Looks like... Yeah, the light's beeping. Hold on. I'll call Aesop. Aesop?
What is it now?
Sorry, Aesop, we're having some trouble with the copier.
Did you overfill the paper tray again?
I don't think so.
Yes, there you go. Yes, you did.
Give it a rest, Aesop. I didn't put that much paper in, Aesop.
Once there was a little vole.
Oh, here we go. Adam, just let him.
And the little vole couldn't follow the simplest bloody instruction. And so she kept jamming up the photocopier every bloody day, and then Aesop had to drop what he was doing and come running to fix it.
Oh, come off it, mate. Aesop, you can be such a bastard sometimes.
What? It's just a story. It's just a story about a little vole and her friend Adam. Adam the shrub.
Adam the shrub.
Adam the shrub, who couldn't keep it in his shrub trousers, and everyone knew he copped off with Dennis from accounts at the company retreat, even though they're both married.
What? Adam? Aesop, Christ, keep your voice down.
What? What's the problem? It's just a little story. Just a little fable for you from good old Aesop, who always has to swoop in and fix the photocopier and listen to all your bloody problems. And nobody ever pays attention to a bloody word he says anyway. And the moral of the story is that you can all just go and stick it up your arses because I'm going on my break.
I think the moral of the story might be that Aesop really needs a girlfriend. So, whose restored chair was the biggest biddest? Let's find out in the... No, wait, hang on, this is the other show again. Where do these scripts keep coming from? Well, never mind. The important thing is that I'd like to thank my brilliant guest star for this episode, Pip Gladwin.
Thanks, Tom. It's been a real good time, and I love your little face.
And can I just say, I'm really touched by your continued support and enthusiasm for this show.
I respect Michelangelo for his party spirit, but if I had to choose, Leonardo really does have the most fulfilling character arc.
Exactly. Pip, as you've just heard, is a ferociously talented actor and can be heard in a number of brilliant podcasts out there. If you like hearing him acting alongside me, then he's all over the funereal sitcom Wooden Overcoats, and he's soon to be heard in a major role in Season 3 of the alternate history sci-fi detective romp Victoriosity, which we've just recently finished recording. He's also part of a number of what they call actual play projects, where funny, clever people play Dungeons & Dragons and then play it back to you, whether you like it or not. You can hear Pip in the podcast Realms of Peril and Glory at RealmsPod on Twitter, and even watch him live streaming with Actual Play UK on Twitch. You can find them at Actual Play UK, all one word, on Twitter and YouTube to keep up with all their upcoming events. Most of all, follow Pip on Twitter at Pip_Gladwin to hear about everything he's getting up to. He is a treasure. As well as the upcoming third go of Victoriosity, I've also been involved in a huge number of other shows lately. You can hear me in a wagon load of episodes of Smirsh Pod, John Rain's extremely silly movie discussion podcast, including a run of episodes where John and I team up with celebrated comedian and writer Tom Neenan, and together we become a dangerously entertaining street gang known only as the Snake Boys. Look us up on the Smirsh Pod podcast feed to find out more. And hot off the presses, a brand new comic drama podcast called Cry Havoc, Ask Questions Later has just launched as of this episode's release. It's a tragicomic farce of corruption and double-dealing set in ancient Rome after Julius Caesar's death. Ambitious politician Gaius Octavius, war general Mark Antony, and hapless old duffer Lepidus are the triumvirate, struggling to rule the Roman Republic together and fend off the underhanded interventions of Queen Cleopatra of Egypt. It's like Veep or The Thick of It, but Roman and with no pictures. It's created and head-written by Wooden Overcoats creator David K. Barnes, features a number of familiar voices from that self-same show, including one Pip Gladwin and previous guest Beth Eyre, and the writing team includes none other than a Tom Crowley. Me, not some other one. I wrote 2 episodes of it. It's a fantastically sharp and funny take on a lot of extremely ridiculous and sometimes harrowing true events from history, and I thoroughly recommend you give it a go. You can find it by searching Cry Havoc, Ask Questions Later on your podcast app or going to the podcast network's website, rustyquill.com. Other than that, don't forget that you can get the Movie Memories Mix and a host of other bonus material by signing up to support this show with $2 per episode or local equivalent at patreon.com/CrowleyTime. You only get charged when a new episode is released, so if you find 2 squids wriggling out of your wallet, it means there's new fun to be had in Crowleyland. It's a sort of effort versus reward setup that underdeveloped minds like mine take too well. So sign up today and encourage me to make more of this silly bollocks faster and better at patreon.com/CrowleyTime. Or if you can't spare the dosh, just tell a friend to give Crowley Time a try, and then maybe they'll give me their money. The next episode will be released when an AI screenwriter first writes a film that is objectively better than 1986's Howard the Duck. So make sure to subscribe to be alerted at the precise moment that happens. Everything you've just heard was made by me, Tom Crowley, and featured special guest performer Pip Gladwin. Please submit all praise, questions, or complaints to @atomcrowley on Twitter or email crowleytimepodcast@gmail.com. To keep me afloat while the computers learn how to replace me with startling speed, go to patreon.com/crowleytime and become a supporter today. Or go to crowleytime.com and buy some of the show's official wearable merchandise or its soundtrack album. And remember, when discussing matters of mouths and gift horses, the number 17, of course, is bingo!
Right, so that's the man in Walthamstow, those rugby players,
Yes.
African Black Rhino, COVID-19, JFK, Sellafield, Red Dye Number 2,
Yes.
Brinksmat, Tupac and Biggie, DB Cooper, Rise of Skywalker, Liz Truss, the Nokia N-Gage, that U2 album appearing on everyone's iTunes,
Yes.
GB News, the Korean War and Flares. Now, Are you sure there's nothing else you need to tell me?
No. I think that's everything.
All right. So look, we'll just get your coat. We'll go down to the police station.
The month, September. The year, 2001.
No, Alice, no!
I don't know what I was doing, Martin. I was so frightened, and those buildings were so tall and intimidating.
Alice, no, for Christ's sake!
It was just me and the girls. We were off for a long weekend for Nadia's hen do. When we went through the security gates, Nadia said nothing to declare, same as the rest of us. But about an hour into the flight, she turned to us and said, "Look what I smuggled aboard," reached into her purse and pulled out an Ingram Mac-10 compact submachine gun. We all just looked at each other. Our lips were saying, "What are you doing? This is crazy." But looking into each other's eyes, we knew we were all feeling the same sick thrill. I threw back the last of my mediocre Cabernet and knew I had to be the one to make the first...